Hey guys, welcome back here to another episode of Inspired Minds, guys. Guys, today's guest I'm extremely excited about, guys. Today's guest is also a father, public speaker, and thought leader, guys. Brian J. King. Hi, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Awesome, brother. Can't complain 100%. Like I said, I'm grateful really for this opportunity. And I'm sure many others will be inspired by your wisdom that you'll bring forth today. Um,
You know
yes,
what? I'll
Brian,
try my best, man. Making an impact is what we do. Absolutely.
100%. So before we start, Brian, share with everyone who you are and what it is that you're busy doing at the moment.
Fair enough. So my name is Brian King. I go by Coach. I've been life coaching and business coaching for about 15 years. I'm from a city called New Orleans, Louisiana, in the States. Currently, I'm in Dallas. I have three kids and one child on the way. So I guess my name would be Abraham because I'm going to be a father of many.
Wow.
Currently, the project that I'm working on, I have a company called iGlobal Coach, and this is a very intentional, impactful company. The acronym for iGlobal Coach is Influence, Growth, Leadership, Opportunity, Betterment, Action/Accountability, and then the L is for Legacy. And so in this brand, we're helping to make thought leaders, change agents, by helping to change a positive mindset. On top of that, I have a separate brand that I have with my wife called iGlobal FX. And so that's for students that want to learn how to multiply their money, be able to trade into the markets, and being able to have some side money or potentially go full time with the skill set. So that's the project that I'm currently working on.
Beautiful. Wow. Amazing, Brian.
Sure.
And Brian, in a nutshell,
Sure.
share with everyone where everything started for you on your journey.
You're
In a
gonna make me go
nutshell.
way back, man. So, I'm 40 years old, so I'm gonna go all the way back to the age of 14. My parents got divorced when I was 11, and the neighborhood that I lived in was a couple of blocks from a rich neighborhood. We weren't rich, we weren't even close to it, but we could see their houses. And I remember that time, man, my mom was struggling. My dad, they got divorced, he moved, and it was just me and my mother. And so my mom literally was working three, four jobs, and I wanted to help. And I was asking myself, what could we do? So me and a buddy of mine, we got a big old bucket of water, a portable vacuum, and I would get on top of the handles on the bike, and we would ride to the neighborhood and knock on doors asking, can we wash their car? And so stateside, and you convert it over, we charge $5 for the outside, 5 for the inside. And that day I made $140. And we split it into, so 70 and 70. And I remember I brought that money home to my mother, and she was so happy. And I decided that day that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I liked the
Wow.
feeling on it. I had control. So that's where my journey started at, was 14 years old, tasting the idea of making my own money.
Wow. And Brian, you get born entrepreneurs out there, and then you get those that work extremely hard to become one.
Yes.
What advice would you love to give to those out there that wants to become entrepreneur? Because it's not the easy road, eh?
No, no, sir. No, no, no. You know what's easy is working at Pick and Pay. What's easy stateside is working at McDonald's or Walmart. I mean, because it's comfortable. Some people could say it's stable, but you don't get great for being normal. Mm-mm. Nobody goes to the World Cup because they were the okay team. They went because they were awesome in their division. And so I think one thing that we have to understand for future entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs, it really comes down to mindset and understanding that everybody has their own path.
Mm.
For instance, I was speaking, and I don't know if you've been tracking with me, I was speaking with a white South African, I think we'd call it an Afrikaner. And so because of my accent, and I'm over here in Cape Town, I've been here almost 6 weeks, people want to talk. It happens all the time. And so they're a little bit more candid because I'm not from here. And so then I got into the discussion of race. And the statement is I kind of wish it was like during apartheid time. You know, it's been since 1994. Can they just not get themselves together? And my response was, but you set up a foundation for people to lose. How do you expect somebody just to get it together when you regulated where they lived, the type of jobs that they could do? You didn't invest into the places or the areas where they're at. Did you actually think because of a vote of 1994 that it became democratic, that all of a sudden stuff would just get it back together? And then I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, apparently you just don't read history. History is his story. And he or she did it according to how they write it. And so you're hearing the words from somebody that is very learned, gives respect, but is not in awe. And so as you and I are having this conversation, as I spoke to her, I'm not speaking up, I'm speaking parallel. And in some cases, I can speak down.
Yeah.
But I judge as a human being. So kind of getting back to what we said, I know I deviated, but it was that idea of that foundation. And that's kind of where that comes from. So that entrepreneur first has to understand, I have my own set of problems. I come from my own ethnic group. How do I work past the limitations in some of these cases that I have no control over? And the simple answer is your mindset. And I can go deeper.
Wow. And Brian, just I think 3 days ago, I went on Facebook and I saw you posted something on Facebook. Do you mind? Can I read it to you? Okay.
Please.
So it really got me, Brian, because you said at the end as well, the price of success is cheaper than the price of failure. That quote just there, Brian, share with everyone what that means, because not a lot of people is willing to put in the work to get to that level. And share with everyone what made you post that, because that is very powerful. That's amazing, man.
Man, you know what? I love that quote. I heard it years ago, and I keep on reiterating and putting it out there. So the price of success is cheaper than the price of failure. If you ever want to see what failure looks like, and this is not a disrespect to anybody, talk to our grandparents, talk to some of your parents, talk to people in a neighborhood that had the potential, but they never got, they never utilized the potential. They never developed the potential. And now, and I've seen this because I go back and forth to home in New Orleans, there's people that are at the same corner when I left 20 years. Nothing's changed. There's people that go in the same neighborhood, they do the same thing, nothing's changed. There's people that at one time of their life when they were younger, when things were just a little bit brighter, they didn't utilize that time because maybe it was hard. Maybe they didn't want to study because they just wanted to have fun. But the problem was now the fun has ran out and now you just have life.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you one of the scariest things as an adult. You want to know what it is? It's called a reflection. You look in the mirror and you look in this mirror and you say, where did 10 and 15 and 20 years go? Because it'll fly by. Because if you're not careful, the highlight of your week will be Friday. And you'll turn up at the club on Friday and Saturday. I can convert it over. Maybe you turn up with that 4,000 and 5,000 rand. You were buying bottle service. You really thought you was doing something at that time. But guess what? Father Time is not a respecter of person. Time affects everyone. And those Fridays start to add up because there's 52 weeks in a year. And next thing you know, we're 120 months out. And you went from 20 to 30, and you don't know where a decade went. And if I looked at your money looks exactly the same from 20 to 30. But guess what? You're not the same. You're older. So circling back, the price of success is cheaper than the price of failure. Both directions, you will pay a price. You can fight for success. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to fight. You're going to get knocked down. What does it say in the Bible? 7 times a righteous man falls, and 7 times he gets back up again. You got to have some grit.
Yeah.
You got to have a fight plan. What did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. How do you feel when somebody punches you, boom, dead in your grill, and you shake it back? You might want to do something crazy. Can you steady and let your head come back? And so I think that entrepreneur or the person that's listening to that has to understand, yes, it's going to be a fight, but I would rather fight 2, 3, 5 years versus wasting a lifetime. And now I just live in regret. So I know that was a long answer for a small quote.
Yes.
Hopefully we put some weight on that, sir.
No, thanks so much, Brian. Brian, and let's speak about, this is a very, very important topic that we'll speak about now, and it is public speaking.
Sure. Yes.
So many people, even myself, Brian, you know, I can prepare mentally before and, you know, speaking to 20 people, 30 people, but when that moment arrives, and then my heart's going. And I'm sure this happens to many other people out there, Brian. But what can they do? What can those people that's struggling with public speaking? Where should we start? Is it about confidence? What is it about actually?
So funny story. Let me tell you how I got started with this and then how it evolved. I came up in a Baptist church. It was a very small church. And so we would have Sunday school. And then right after Sunday school, we would have something called the Sunday Minutes. So it was basically a report that said, we had X number of people came, we collected this money, so on and so forth. And I remember every time I had to read it, I would be nervous, and my mother kept on making me do it. And then something clicked. I actually enjoyed my minister spotlight. I got used to it, man. I understood that I had a gift, and I didn't know to the capacity of the gift, but I actually enjoyed speaking. Now, think about it. I said 9 and 10. I'm going to fast forward all throughout high school, because in high school, I was always known as the guy that had the gift of gab. I could always talk. I could make the ladies laugh, and it was humorous. And I was a class clown. And even in that, I wanted to be an athlete. I didn't want to be a gift of gab. I didn't want to be the jokester. I wanted to be the athlete that the ladies like. And fast forward a little bit more in college. And my first course that I had to take was a communications course. And Caden, they wanted us to speak for 10 minutes. And I was like, my God, 10 minutes. What in the world? Are you kidding me? 10 minutes. Look at that. 1, 2, yeah, and then times 10. And so what I did was I talked about hip hop and the effect of hip hop on culture. And I remember I wore this jean jacket, some jeans, and then I wore these Timberland boots. And then I talked about Tupac. And there was a song, I think it was called The Rose in the Cement. Man, I got passionate, man. I talked for 25 minutes. Standing ovation. And I got an A in the course. And the teacher said, you got a gift, man. And so then I invested in something called Toastmasters International. It's all over. They have it in Cape Town. It's all over. Even virtually now, you can still do this. And I started to invest in my craft. Here's the crazy thing, man. I would go to Toastmasters. And I would get blue ribbons, and people would ask, why are you here? You could teach the course. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm new. And so I just started to build my confidence, man. I would literally at my old house, set up chairs and talk to my chairs. And then I would have Q&A sessions with my chairs. Let me tell you how deep this went. When my kids were small, I mean, I don't think they were this small, like midgets, but they were small. And I would sit them down and they would, oh, Daddy, that was amazing. You sound like one of those guys on TV. Then I read, man, that some of the orators in Greece would put marbles in their mouth. And I put marbles in my mouth to see if I could get my voice to come through, and it could. My last experiment, I got drunk and I tried to deliver a speech, but it didn't work out.
At least you tried, Brian. At least you tried.
Yeah, so it was a good time, man. But I would say practice your craft, number one. Number two, have the belief that people need to hear what you have to say. Number three, watch this perspective. The number one phobia in the world is death. People are scared of dying. You know what number two is?
Public speaking.
Yes, sir.
I did my research, Brian.
Yeah, you've been studying a little bit. I like that. So that means that in the audience, people would prefer to be in a casket than to stand up and speak. Wow. I know this.
Wow.
So when I'm talking, I know that what I'm doing, 90 to 95% of the audience can't even pull off. It makes me feel special. And I speak that way.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Brian, and mindset. How important is it to have the right mindset, and how can one develop the right mindset depending on where they see themselves in 5 to 10 years time? How can they build that successful mindset?
I think great question. One I'm going to say is the word, if you're taking notes on this, modeling. Modeling. You can't do what you don't see. Let me share something that we did last night. So I've been looking for real estate out here, and before I came to Cape Town, this is my third time here. I've been researching. There's a website called Property 24, and I made up in my mind that I was going to be moving to Camps Bay. I was going to get one of those mansions out there, and so I didn't want to just talk about it. I called some real estate agents, and I've probably looked at between 10 to 12 homes. Now, here's what's crazy about this. I walked in these nice homes and I wasn't impressed enough.
Wow.
So I shared that with them. Yeah, they're big, but it's a lot of work. They're older. Yeah, I'm paying for a view. And so yesterday, there's a home in Bloberstrand. It is about 900 meters squared. It is huge. You can get lost in the house. There's separate flats. There's outside areas. You go up to the third level because it's 3 stories, and you can literally see the Atlantic Ocean. You can see Robbins Island, and then you can see Table Mountain to your left. You take in the breeze. You can smell it, and then it's almost like you feel like king of the castle. You like you want it. You hit yourself on the chest, and you say Maximus, and you feel good. My point is it's modeling. I'm at a place in my life that I'm not scared to go touch my dreams.
Wow, that's a powerful place, Brian. Powerful.
And so my students, big circle, I had never met them face to face until I came out here. And the majority of my students live in Strandfontein. And they're close to Kalaliche, if I pronounced it correctly. And so when I go in that area of town, it's a lot different than the areas that I'm in. So then one of the first stops that we did was Musenberg. And I remember I went to Musenberg, I go to Tiger's Milk, and then I was sharing with one of my top guys, man, and a partner within the company. And I said, this is beautiful, man. Do you not see the mountains in the back? Do you not see the people? And he said, wow, I never looked at it like that. I said, you didn't look at it like that because you have a different perspective. I come from afar. I know what it is. I live in Dallas, Texas. There are no mountains or oceans in my state. I have to fly 2.5 hours, either to the west or to the south or to the east, just to see what you can go around the corner and see.
Gratitude.
Yeah, modeling. I said, what you've been modeling so far, and this was just a general statement, you've been modeling what you see on a day-to-day basis. But the whole Cape Town is not like that. You've been told you can't walk outside. You can't. Crime, gangsters, American gang, all the other different gangs. But we can go to Bloberstrand and people are jogging that don't look like you, walking at nighttime, walking their dogs. When they walk, they don't even turn their heads when people are behind them. Whose story is true? Both of you guys' story is true.
Wow.
It's just that they have a different perspective because they live in a different place. And because they live in a different place, they have a different experience. And so if you want to get out your current area, I strongly suggest this because it's going to change your mindset. You first have to change your environment.
Amen, Brian. I agree. 100%.
Come on, man.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I want to over talk, man, because you get into a place that's special to me. Because that's what I do. I have to free that mindset, brother.
Yes, Brian. Brian, in what role does your wife play in your life?
Woo!
Yep.
So
go for it, brother.
I love guys that are players. I love guys that just date multiple different women. And I'm a believer, man. So I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, but I'm also an unapologetic man. I'm a man's man. I'm an alpha male. And I said, it's expensive to divide your time. When you divide your time and you date multiple people, you have to deal with multiple emotions. You have to remember multiple stories. You're going to spend multiple money. But if you want to look at men that have done something great, they all have one wife.
Yep. It's true, Brian. Yep.
When I look at God's original mandate, I'm going to the book of Genesis. He said to one have dominion. It means to dominate. Not to just to be nice and smile. And I'm all up for being smiling, but it means to dominate. Not for a man to dominate you, but to dominate in your industry, to be the best version of yourself. Number two means to subdue. If a ship is subdued in the ocean, it is under the ocean. If I subdue a piece of paper, it is up under my feet. That means anything on the land is supposed to be subdued. We have enough control to have dominion to subdue. Watch the last one. To be fruitful and to multiply.
Wow.
Come on now. Yeah. Original mandate. Dominion, subdue, fruitful, and multiply. Answering your question, my wife is my best friend. But let me give you a story. But this is my second marriage. I was married for 13 years before.
Wow.
I got married when I was 22 years old. Truth be told, I shouldn't have gotten married the first time. I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I did things a little backwards. I had my son first, had my daughter, then I got married. So already because of my decisions, and if you want to get a theme for this is choices, my life was a lot harder because I then had to grow up. I then had to raise kids, and then I had to find my way at the same time. And that's called juggling. We're juggling over here, right? And so fast forward, man, we had ups, we had downs. So when I get on here publicly and say everything was bad because it wasn't, but the end result is divorced, gave myself a little time. And then I met my wife about 5 years later. What stood out to my wife was one, I loved her accent, loved it. Then she told me she was from South Africa. And my response was, south of what? South of Africa? She says, no, I just told you, South Africa. I was ignorant to the fact of the country. Why am I sharing this? In the West, we don't learn anything of the 54 countries within Africa. One of the common beliefs is that Africa is a country. A lot of African Americans expect all Africans to be dark-skinned. If you ain't dark, you can't be from Africa. I mean, Africa is one country. Everybody speaks Swahili and they all wear dashikis. Yeah, that's not the truth. But that's what's on television. And so I got to speak with my wife, and my wife, what she did was she gave me a global perspective, thus the name iGlobal Coach. I started to learn about the various countries within Africa. I learned about the colored community, which I'd never heard of. I learned about just the challenges within South Africa, the beauty. And from that conversation, I've been to 7 or 8 different countries. She's probably been to 8 or 9 different countries. And together, we had a desire to make an impact. The reason that I'm sharing this is a lot of times we're praying for people, but we have to get with people that can help make an impact. Because I can't do it all by myself, and she can't do it all by herself. But guess what happened? When two become one and they get single-minded, they can be fruitful and multiply.
Yes, 100%, Brian. Yep.
Just want to add that to you, brother.
Yes, Brian, and reading. I know you're a huge advocate of reading books as well.
Yes.
Share the importance of reading, Brian, to those people out there, because I know that there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom in reading books as well. And I know the most powerful book is the Bible. But as well as other books, Brian, share with everyone. Give a few books that you know that will help others and so forth.
I love what you're saying. Let me tell you what's funny, man. I just want to go into a stat right quick. So in the States, we have a bookstore called Barnes and Noble. Big store. I mean, almost like the size of a Pick and Pay, right? And so I was speaking to the manager and I was just kind of asking, because I love business. And I said, how much of a percentage of people in the local area are coming in? She said, I'm going to have you laugh. I said, go ahead. 2 to 3%. What? Wow. You mean to tell me in an area of 100,000 people, 2 to 3%? She says, absolutely. Do you know how many people don't read books after high school? A majority. And so I heard this, man, and this is kind of a travel statement. They said, if the world was a book and you've never traveled, you're on the table of contents.
Wow. Wow.
That jumped at me. And then so I got introduced to reading, and this was funny, not when I was in college, but after college. I had to leave college early because of my son. And so I left at the age of about 22, 23 to work a full-time job. There was this black couple, man. They came to an appliance store because I was selling appliances. And I remember at that time, there was this big old TV, man. I don't know what it would be in centimeters, but it was 65 inches, about my height. And it was the top TV. Literally, this TV in Rand would have been about 50,000 Rand for a TV. And they said they wanted the best. I sold it to them. I closed my eyes. I was like, woo, I can get a good commission. And so they invite me over to their house to install the television. And they said, the reason we wanted you to come over is we saw some potential in you. And they said, we want to show you something. And I said, okay. And so they take out this Excel sheet and it had a bunch of numbers and addresses. And at the end, it was 30,000 US dollars. And they said, that is what we're making per month from real estate. And I looked at them dead in the eye and I said, the only people I know that make that is drug dealers and rappers. That's the only three options. Ain't no way in the world you're making that type of money. They said, no, we make this money. They said, my son is about to turn 16, and instead of getting him a pair of Jordans, we're going to buy a property for him and he'll get his first property.
Wow. Wow.
And Caden, these were black people, man. These were my people, man. It's one thing to see somebody that don't look like you say that, but they live right around the corner from where I live. So this blew my mind, brother. It blew my mind. And so before I left, they said, there's a book that I want you to read called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Beautiful book. Beautiful book.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Blew my mind. Another good book for you. The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Talked about how in every community, you'll have people that get education and they start to turn their nose up on the people that don't have the education. But yet you'll have foreigners that will come to the land, and you know what they'll have? I forgot what you guys call them. The shops that's on the side of the road, they'll have those. Yeah, the corners, the areas they sell to a need, and you think they're struggling and they live in big houses. That's a good one.
Yep.
I'll give one. This one is called Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Powerful book. Powerful book. The Richest Man in Babylon. I forgot the guy's last name, but the first G letters are OG. That's pretty cool. OG. Then I started listening to motivational speakers, and you can do this if you're on YouTube. Eric Thomas, powerful beast. Tony Robbins. I don't listen to him as much, but in the beginning, Jim Rohn. And what starts to happen is you start to get mentors, even though you never met them. Because you start to hear their heart. Yes, sir. Yes. Last point, Kate. This is crazy. A lot of people say, man, Coach, how do you speak so well? It's not like I practice a bunch of vocabulary words. I read books. And my rhetoric and my oratory skills went up because of what I was putting in my mind.
Wow.
Just imagine if all day long I listen to gangster rap. Mother F this, F you for this. I'm getting such and such. Let's just say your mentor was Future. Yeah, Future was your mentor. Well, you're going to be able to tell me about drugs. You're going to be able to tell me about gangsters and all that, but you ain't going to be able to tell me about life.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can love a beat because I love a beat like anybody else. But what you have to understand is your brain is a sponge. Nothing in, nothing out. And so if that's all that you feed yourself, then you will start to sound like, you will dress like, and you will emulate what you've been feeding yourself.
100%. That's very powerful. Thanks so much, Brian. And Brian,
yes, sir.
Before I ask my last question, where can
Sure.
everyone find you on social media? Where can everyone find you?
Beautiful. So my social media arms, one, if I'm on IG, is I Global Coach. Don't spell it couch, COACH, I Global Coach. I have a website, WWI Global Coach. If you follow me on Facebook, it's my personal page, Brian J. King. You'll see a picture with me and my bride up there as well. And then I have a business page, I Global Coach as well. So that's where you can follow me on that one. My content is going to be impactful. We'll have authentic conversations. I talk about racism. I talk about politics. I talk about life, and also talk about Forex. And so even though I have a Forex Academy, one thing I tell all people is bigger than Forex. Forex is just a means to help you get to your purpose. That's it.
Wow, powerful, powerful. And Brian, if you could make one change in the world, what would it be and why? If you could make one change.
I'm going to say exposure. And the reason that I'm going to say exposure is because the lack of exposure creates the lack of growth.
Wow.
Here's a funny story. In the States, Mexico is a country that's right below the United States, so it's still part of North America. Where I live in Dallas, and especially Houston, we have at least a 20 to a 30% Mexican population. And so that means if you live where I live, Kaden, you would eat Mexican food. It's a part of culture. You would have a burrito, and you guys have actually changed the name, the little bread part. It's not called a burrito, but in Texas, it's a burrito.
Yes.
And so culture would be affected. You would see Telenova TV, which would be some of the things that the Mexicans play soccer. That's a natural sport from their country that they brought over. And so the customs and the traditions are because we're so close to the country.
Wow.
So funny story, my mom came to visit. She still lives in New Orleans. And I wanted to bring her to a Mexican restaurant. And here's what my mother said. I don't eat no Mexican food. Then she said this, had me laughing. You know, I heard the Mexicans are taking all the jobs.
Wow.
And I said, Mama, what jobs? Do you want to be a roofer? Do you want to do lawn? You going to build a building? No, 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 no. I said, you've heard that. Do you know anybody who is Hispanic? No. I said, so you're saying something based on the limited exposure that you have.
Wow.
So then we went to this restaurant on Sundays. They have this nice brunch, man. This was prior to COVID. And I bring her to a place called Matitos. Muy bueno. She sits down and there's food laid out everywhere. I mean, they're making omelets and steak and chicken and guacamole and beans and rice. My mom ate for 45 minutes straight. And said, this is amazing. And I laughed and I said, oh, you don't eat Mexican food.
Yep. Yep.
I said, the reality is you never had it. You've never been exposed to it. That concept can go around the world.
That is very powerful, Brian. Yep.
Easy to be racist when you ain't never talked to the other group. Easy. We can go to different parts of Asia and you start to understand Asia is not China. Asia is India. Asia is Dubai. Asia could be Russia. What part are we talking about? But if we stay in our same circle, in our same neighborhood, let me tell you what happens. We'll talk the same. We'll say that one people group is against us because we can give 3 good stories. We'll do the same things. And now what happens? We end up playing a game of checkers versus chess. You know what I'm talking about? So now we got 2 groups that's mad, but we're not mad at the group that actually wrote the situation. And so from afar, they get to look at you and laugh because they put cousins together. Yeah, happens all the time.
Wow. Yep.
And so to answer your original question again, exposure will change your life. What would I do if I was in Cape Town full-time at exposure? That means if I was going to a coffee shop, I would never go in my own area. I would get in my car and I would drive to Sea Point, to Mill Point, to Camps Bay, downtown, Bloemenstrand, all these areas. Yeah. I go to Stellenbosch just to get some doggone wine by myself. You know what's going to happen eventually? I'm going to meet somebody. They're going to be in shock that I'm out of my area. Notice what I just said. They're in shock.
Yeah.
I'm out of my area.
Yeah,
And
bro.
then one day, watch this, Caden, because you know how to speak, I'm going to say some crazy words to him. Watch this. Good morning. How are you? I'm
Yeah,
well. Yourself? How's your day going? I'm going to draw a conversation. I'm going to force them to talk to me because they assume that everybody that looks like me was dangerous.
yep,
Mm,
yep.
told
And
you.
you
So that's what
and
I'll change, brother.
and you know, Brian, sometimes we make assumptions beforehand, before experiencing that particular thing, we already have a vision of what that's like or what we heard from others, but we never experienced it. We weren't exposed to it. So I totally that's something I've learned from you today, Brian. And I think we as humans, we are very powerful if our mind is at the right place, Brian.
Can I share this quick story with you, man? I know we're on time as
Yes,
well.
yes, Brian.
3 weeks ago, I went to the bootlegger and I went to the one that was in Bloberstrand right by Big Bay. And so it was it's a white lady that was serving me, young, probably 22, 23. And 2 to 3 people came up to me and said, I just love the American accent. I said, well, I don't hear it, but okay, thank you. And I could tell she kept on coming back. So then we got into race. And I said, let me blow your mind. She says, what's that? Whenever you hear the term of diversity, let me remind you of something. Diversity is not just one people or one person in here. It's a diverse perspective.
Mm,
Everywhere that I've went in South Africa for people to serve me have all been Black South Africans. Every place. Since I've been in here today, I've looked around. I am the only person of color that is sitting down, working on my computer and being served. It is 95 to 99% Caucasian. But on a regular basis, it's probably 100% Caucasian. And what starts to happen after a while is you start to believe that the people that work here are made to serve you.
wow.
So when you see them on the street, you don't really speak to them because they're below you. That's what you tell yourself.
Mm,
You see them outside at the corner at the light of the robot, you give them some change. You see them in the parking lot, kind of backing you up, the parking guys. And then what happens one day is you meet somebody like me. I would have you working for me, but I won't serve you. And she was in shock when I said this. And I said, let me give you a perspective. If I came from Mitchell's Plain, do you think a Cape Colored would feel comfortable in here? She says, I don't know. I says, the answer is no. Because what happens is, and maybe you don't know this, and I'm sharing this with you because you're young enough, sometimes people in your people group kind of give them a look because they don't speak the Afrikaans good enough. But let me remind you of something. In the United States, whenever we had slavery, we left the shores of West Africa in 1619. My DNA is I'm 87.6% West African. I am 27% Nigerian. The people that's serving, those could be my brothers. I'm no different. I only sound different because I come up in a first world nation. Our experiences are the same. When we came to the Americas, our language was robbed, our religion was robbed, families was torn apart. You know what we started to create? Our own language. So you know that hip hop that you listen to? Congratulations, you like my language. When I'm in
Yeah.
my group, I don't speak proper English. I speak Ebonics. I remember one time a lady tried to correct me when I was speaking and I checked it right on spot. You're not the damn president of me.
Yep.
This is our language. This is for my people group. When I get around your people group, I'll speak a language that you can understand, but do not think that you're the boss of me. You don't run me. And so I'm sharing this with the server and she's like, wow. And I said, anytime you want to have a perspective, because I said, think about this idea. Wouldn't it be fair to have a level of restitution when wrong happened? She said, what are you talking about? If I stole your car and we went to court and I'm the guy that's guilty of it, would you not want your car back? Absolutely. Yeah, you need to give me my car. Good. So if I stole some land, wouldn't it be right to restore back to the original inhabitants of the land? Before you answer the question, I need you to be logical and non-emotional. She said, you're right. Be very careful not to change history to make yourself feel good.
Wow.
Exposure. That's the last thing I wanted to end on, brother.
Powerful, powerful. Brian, brother, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone else that's watching this episode really, really is inspired and learned something today from you, Brian. And guys,
Absolutely.
thank you so much, guys, for taking the time and effort to watching this episode. Thank you so much, Brian. God bless, brother. Have a beautiful weekend further. We're
You
not
too,
done,
man.
Brian. We're not done. We will continue. In the future, we will continue. We will link up.
Reach out, tell me, man. I'll do this in the States as well.
Thanks so much,
Thank you,
Brian.
brother.
Much
Cheers, brother.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Brian.
Peace,
God
man.
bless you.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Brian.